Before we start the demo, let me set the stage a little bit. I think this will be a scenario that sounds pretty familiar to a lot of people in the industry. So picture a meeting most breweries have every month. Maybe we have the owner, the finance lead, the operations lead in a meeting room all together looking at last month's P&L and maybe some other spreadsheets. They can see that margin's down, everyone can see it, it's pretty obvious, but nobody's really sure what to do about it. And this makes everybody frustrated, right? The owner's frustrated because they need to help lead the team to take certain actions, but they don't have all the information they need to give them direction. The finance lead's frustrated because they know the answer's in there somewhere, but it might take a few more days of really deep spreadsheet work to be able to get there. So the meeting ends, the team agrees to look into it some more, but they haven't really taken any action. So maybe 4 weeks go by. Next thing they know, they find themselves in the same meeting looking at the same numbers with no action taken, right? And everything keeps getting worse. And that's really what starts to wear on you as a leadership team. You can see the score and it's based on your P&L, but you're struggling to really change the performance. And everything that goes by without a fix, the bank accounts just start getting worse. This is really the moment that we created this product for. So here's what's going on in that meeting. The P&L tells you the score, it shows you that margin moved, but it doesn't tell you the full story. It doesn't tell you what brand it was, what channel it was, maybe what ingredient is driving it. The answer to those questions lie in different systems, your brewery management system, your point of sale system, your wholesale system, and none of these are really connected at that low level of detail to your P&L. So when margin moves, you're either guessing or starting a multi-day spreadsheet project, right? Taking data out of all these different systems and trying to piece it together. And by the time you get to the answer, probably the next month's P&L is already coming out, right? So what the team needs in that scenario, and really every team needs, is that single spot that they can look and they can see the high level score and then really quickly be able to drill in and understand what's going on in the details. What brand is driving a change? What channel is it? Again, what ingredient might it be? That's hard to do on your own, but that's really what we're looking to do in the Brewery Brain. Let's go check out that demo. So here's our brief. This is going to be our quick snapshot on how everything is going in your business. You can see we're focused on finance today, but you could bring in data from all the different components of your business to see how things are going. Okay, let's drill in a little bit more on finance. So right now we're on the home screen, and you'll find that a lot of our subsequent screens are set up the same way. I'll take a little bit more time to explain this one, and then we'll go quicker through some of the next. First off, up at the top, we try to give you a headline of what's going on and really highlight what's most interesting. What do you need to focus on? There's a ton of data that your brewery business produces, right? So we're going to try to keep you focused on what's most critical. One thing I want to mention as I'll start to scroll down a little bit more so we can see some of the detail is we're able to do different time comparisons. We can do month over month, we can look at year over year, or we could look at the current month compared to the trailing 12. We could even do budget, but I don't have that loaded in for this brewery. We'll see that we get the whole level business performance up on the top. All of this is going to start with looking at your net operating income, your revenue, your gross margin. You'll see some trending information. In any of the analysis we're looking at, blue means something good is happening in the comparison we're looking at, and orange means something is dropping. Below the main indicators of your top financial metrics, you'll see we can tell each of the different drivers of our costs and what percent of sales those make up. And are they getting better or worse over time? One more click is going to drop us down into even a little bit lower information where we're really able to get the details we need to help run the business. Before I dive any deeper, I want to also show you we have this Ask Your Data. So if we pop this open, it's going to have some pre-formed questions that might be interesting. I'll just click on this first one to get it going. This is saying, hey, take the gross margin across, in this example, we have 3 different tap rooms and show me what the average is across all of them. Cool, we just got that information. And then if I happen to type in what was the highest and lowest month, it's going to go ahead and query all the data it has access to and then give us those answers really quick, right? So sometimes all you need is a quick answer to an ad hoc question. You can get that with your chat. But what I want to do in this case is, as we're scrolling through the business, let's say we saw, hey, production and wholesale, that drives a lot of our revenue, and we're really starting to struggle on margin. So that's one I want to dive into more. If we wanted to, we could do a deep dive on our expenses, but in this case, we're going to look at our margin because that's been dropping. So I'm going to go ahead and click there. Okay, so now we're on to this next screen, and you'll see it looks pretty similar to our first one, and that's by design. We want everything to look and feel pretty similar no matter what level of your business you're drilling into. First, we're going to start with that headline. We give you an option if you want to quickly move to the next stage, you can go ahead and click this button here. But if you're interested in some more information on what some of the underlying metrics are, you can just scroll down. We can see we're still tracking these top two margin metrics. Next up, we're able to see how it breaks down by volume, price, and cost. And then below that, we're even drilling into individual brands. So some really good information, all nice and visual, easy to pick up what's going on. As we continue to work through this root cause problem solving exercise, I want to draw people's attention to our hazy IPA that's seen total cost of goods sold per barrel up 13% from the period we're looking at. So that's an indicator that, yep, this is one we want to dive into because we're seeing total cost of goods sold go up quite a bit. Now, let's just say you had some additional context and you knew there was a reason that this was happening, and maybe you didn't want the next step in our root cause problem solving to focus on that. You could go ahead and type any of that context in here, and then through our next step, it's going to use the data, use the new context that you've added, and maybe steer the analysis in a different direction. But in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and say, yep, let's dive in a little bit more on the cost playbook. So now you'll see, similar idea. We have a headline up top, and then we're going to break down each of our different beers in a little bit more detail. Now what we're able to do is we can look at our total cost of goods sold per barrel, and then we could also break it down by just the material that's going in to our product, right? There's usually different actions going on if it's a labor or overhead issue or if it's based on materials. In this case, we can really see it's the materials that are driving it. And again, we're going to be focused on our hazy IPA. Okay, I scroll down a little bit more. And the next question we're going to want to answer is our total cost up because of ingredients or because of yield or loss on this brand? So let's go check that out next. Great. So next screen up, we're on our ingredient versus yield. You can see we have our headline, we have our different metrics, and we can drill into all the detail. Since you've seen examples of this before, I'm just going to go ahead and move on to the next one. Just the main takeaway, as you probably saw from the headline, that is the ingredient cost that jumped, not the yield, is why we're running into some problems with this beer. Okay, let's check out our ingredients. So here we go. Now we can see each of the main ingredients going in this beer. And in this case, we can see our Citra hops have gone up quite a bit. Now, what you'll also notice on this screen is it's starting to bring in some of the knowledge that we've saved and some of the context that we have in our business. And it says, hey, we think a reason why this might happening is because your last contract ended on December. So you've been on spot pricing since then. That's probably why your price has been going up. So it's going to not just take the data, but this would be an example of also pulling in other business knowledge in order to help steer people in the right direction. Okay, next up, now we have some actions because the whole point of looking at data is to take an action, right? It's going to give us a few different options. One is maybe we want to work on trying to lower that cost. So it's going to say, well, you can look at different suppliers for this hop. You can try to lock in another contract. Maybe you want to reformulate. It's going to try to determine how much per month of additional cost savings you might get off of each of these. Next, maybe there's nothing you can really do on the cost side and you want to raise the price to try to pass through the additional costs. So it'll give you some information on how you can do that. And finally, maybe you're just out of luck on this one and you just have to accept it. So that's really taking an action. At least you've looked at the data and you've determined that's your best course of action, just to stay put. Now, what's pretty cool about this and what I think is really valuable is if we said document this action. That's basically your team confirming, yep, we're going to shop for alternative suppliers. Now, what's really powerful is we're able to lock in our baseline as of a certain date. Then if we're taking this action, we're able to lock in what recovery or what benefit do we think we're going to get from this action. So you can see it's going to pre-populate some numbers. All of these can be overwritten if the team wanted to. And then we're going to say, hey, in a certain time period, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, we want to come back and revisit this action. And we had marked what the baseline was. Then we'll know what our new performance has been. And we want to make sure we're moving things in the right direction, right? And of course, we'll assign everything with an owner. And then if we had any additional notes, we'll go ahead and enter that here. And all this information is going to be saved so we can refer back to it in the future. I'm going to go ahead and submit on this one. Okay. Great, it just says our actions tracked. The final step in this is going to be if we wanted to print a PDF that we can share with the rest of the team and maybe save for our own records. So I just hit that print PDF button. Going to take a second to prepare it. But here you go. We have a nice one pager. Starting up here with the action we took, the benefits we're hoping to get from it. If we kind of forgot, well, why did we end up taking that action? It's going to walk through the different analysis steps that we did. Come up with a follow-up plan, and we're really getting all the information just on a single screen here, which I think is super effective to be able to communicate out further and refer back to in the future. As I pull back up this front screen, let's just remember what we did there. We started with this high-level headline, right? We saw, uh-oh, margin is struggling. Then with just a few clicks, we were able to drill all the way through the business, through a lot of our different operational metrics. Ultimately, we were able to single out an ingredient that we were really struggling with. We got that action, we documented it, we're going to be able to follow it up in the future. Super powerful to go from high-level financial insight down to specific action that's sure to move the needle. So there you have it. We really built this for brewery leaders who want to end their financial review with actual decisions and actions, not just interesting information. We built it for finance leaders who would rather have like working in the business and not just preparing complex spreadsheets that nobody really knows how to use or how to read. And we want operations leaders who are confident in taking those decisions, knowing they had data backing it up. So even if the decision didn't lead in the direction they wanted to, they really had sound logic that they took, and they weren't just guessing or going off the seat of their pants. So if you want to see how some of your data looks like running through here, or to do a deeper dive on some of these other aspects, let's set up a 15-minute call and go through there. We'll be able to really drill in, answer any questions you have, and show you how this solution combines your data, a certain knowledge base and context of your business, and your different action templates, really ties it all in there and gives your team everything they need to be successful. Please grab a time with me and we'll chat. Cheers.